Yeah, live on Facebook.
I'm sorry? Oh, please.
Yeah, live on Facebook now.
Oh.
We have 8 participants. Greetings, readers and book lovers joining all over from the world. So I'm not going to specifically say good morning, good afternoon, or good night because you might be joining from different parts of the world. So I would like to welcome you all warmly to the Author Saga session hosted by Pick a Book Global. I'm Zara Marzuk, your moderator for this event. And we are honored to have all of you join us for an inspiring discussion with the talented author Lana Shadeen. So I hope all of you are doing fine. How are you? Our interested readers, there's Insari, Nanda Vandinayaka, and Oshadi from Pick a Book as well. So I hope you're all going to have a good time. And before we dive in, let me introduce briefly about Pick a Book to the audience who's joining live or any newcomers. So Pick a Book is a global movement dedicated to fostering the love for reading and personal growth through the wonders of literature. With a presence in 5 different countries, our mission is to encourage individuals to develop their full potential by engaging in various aspects of personal growth through the magic of books. And our vision is, we inspire change. An Author Saga is an engaging online segment by Pick a Book Global, connecting readers and authors through inspiring conversations. In this series, we aim to illuminate the fascinating journeys of authors, exploring the stories behind their literary creations and the small interruptions, sorry, on my part, apologies. So let's go forward. So Lana Shadeen is the talented author behind the book Perfect 40. Her book deals with the emotional challenges women face as they approach the age of 40. Any 40s here or near 40s? And I think this is going to be a very emotional journey for anyone who's approaching the age of 40. Let's now listen to the inspiring journey of Lana Shadeen and learn more about the powerful themes in Perfect 40. So will you all join with me in giving a warm virtual welcome to Lana? So Lana, we welcome you warmly.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you having me here.
And as we begin, ladies and gentlemen, I encourage everyone to keep an open mind and engage with us throughout the session. We want this to be a little bit interactive and enriching experience to all of you. So if you have any questions for Lana or want to share your thoughts, feel free to use the chat feature and we'll do our best to address all your questions during the Q&A segment later. Now, let's dive in to the book further. Lana, I would like to know what inspired to write your first book?
My personal experience. So when I was about 37, 38, I started to go through a lot of emotional challenges. I thought it was something maybe to do with kids. I thought it was something to do with hormones, perimenopause. I mean, there's so many different things you could think of. Once I crossed everything off the list, I realized that was me, my experience I was going through. It was about aging. So my personal process, going through aging process, actually inspired me to write this book, to share my story with other women as well.
Wonderful. I think sometimes, personally, I myself go through this roller coaster of hormones. And now, can you tell us a bit about yourself and what inspired that perfect 40, particularly that perfect 40 age?
The perfect 40 was scary for me. So I had to work with myself to figure out how to make it not so scary. So started one by one, a fear at a time, emotion at a time, a story at a time, and figure out how I could turn into a perfect 40. Because at the end of the day, aging is not scary. It's really how we look at it at the end of the day. So 40 doesn't have to be scary. Aging doesn't have to be scary. It was scary for me because I thought my next milestone was going to be 50. We all think of 50 aunties, uncles, and that was quite spooky for me to think of it that way. But then once you start looking and ironing out that what you eat, what if you exercise, how you look at it, you realize it's not that scary, and it's actually a perfect age because you already have the experience behind you, and you could really mold your 40s any way you want to.
Now, I'm a little bit curious about your personal history. So, can you tell me a little bit more about yourself, where you were born and how you were brought up?
Yes, sure, of course. So I was born in Uzbekistan, which is a former Soviet Union. When I was 16, my whole family migrated to United States, Los Angeles. And I've been living here ever since. I went to school, graduated, worked customer service, medical staffing. I had my own company. I still have my own company, by Amy. It's a women's clothing line. Worked with all kinds of legal services. I mean, my experience is quite wide. So I decided to jot down and write my own book.
That's very interesting to know that you are coming from Uzbekistan and now in United States.
Yes.
And how did you come up with the ideas that you have selected and included in this book?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? You were breaking up.
Yes, the ideas that you have talked about in this book, how did you come up with them, the ideas?
So ideas really came from my little journal, right? So I started jotting down the fears, and I mean, everything is in the book is something that I personally went through, right? So my little fears that I've had, all their issues at around 40 that women face. Again, we talk about men's midlife crisis. We don't talk about women's, but we personally go through all these emotions. We go through fears. We go through social we're going through trends and what social expectations are, right? We all deal with them. What TikTok expects, what Instagram expects from us. So all that I personally went through. I'm like, do I want, like in a good example, do I want to be like that Instagrammer blogger? Do I want to post my life on social media? Am I supposed to be a certain size, or am I supposed to dress a certain way? Fear of dying, or parents or siblings, or there's so many fears we all have, right? We just don't look at them in the eyes. So throughout a few years, I went through it, and I really jot down all my thoughts and processes that I went through. And that's how literally all the chapters are in my book. It's everything that I personally faced.
So there are some messages or themes that you explore in this book, such as emotional challenges. Would you like to tell a little bit more about them, the main themes in the book?
So emotional challenges, I think we all go through them, right? Sometimes we think it's hormones. We blame it on different things. And I think the biggest message from the emotional challenges, and we all will go through them, even if it's not now, if it's later, if it's after you turn 40, for everybody's a little bit different. But at the end of the day, the message from all these emotional challenges is love yourself first. Because if we don't love ourselves first, then how can we love how everybody else could love us? Some people think it's maybe a little bit selfish to say that, but it's actually not, because you got to understand what loving yourself is. And more and more people I talk about it, they realize that a lot of emotional challenges that they go through is because they don't love themselves first. And I think I find that one of the biggest messages out of my book is love yourself first.
That's really nice. I would like to add a little bit more. I've heard this story about the oxygen mask when you are in an emergency in an airplane. So they always tell you to wear your oxygen mask first before you help others. So yeah, I think that's a great message. And your book emphasizes the importance of self-love, as you told us right now, confidence, and seeking support. Can you share some practical advice for women who are navigating these emotional challenges?
Yeah, so I mean, emotional support, again, it all comes from within, right? If you love yourself first, you will love what you wear, how you speak, what you say, what you do. So it all really comes from within. And exploring your own self is very important. Sometimes we think what is right for us is not really right for us. We're so used to taking, oh well, my mom taught me this is the right thing, right? My dad said this is the right thing to do. My sister, my brother, my family member, my friend, recommended this, so it must be good for me. But it's almost like, well, you should like Chinese food, but once you actually realize you may not even like Chinese food. So it's like one of those things. You really need to understand who you are and not what was told that this is who you are. You need to learn within, you need to learn who you are really to deal with those emotional challenges. So it all really comes from within. It really is spending time with yourself, reading your chapters, separating them, paragraph by paragraph. This is how you find out who you really are, truly are. And that's how you could deal with your emotional challenges and yourself.
So it's a journey to the inside of you.
Exactly. Yep. It's all,
Yes.
all within you.
Nice. Thank you very much. And I would like to also delve a little bit into deeply to the themes. Now, you also discussed about the impact of trends such as
Right.
TikTok, Instagram, and then family dynamics and everyday problems on personal growth and happiness. How do you suggest readers like us navigate through these challenges while maintaining a healthy mental state?
So, I mean, just because a monkey is going to jump doesn't mean you want to jump, right? It's one of the things I discuss, in the book. So just because everybody's doing a particular trend on TikTok doesn't mean you have to, that does not define you. And that you're actually doing it because you don't want to, or you pretend to be somebody else, that defines you. That means you don't know who you really are again, so just sit down, think about it, who you want to be as a person. You really need to decide for yourself who you want to be. Do you want to be a blogger? Then yeah, you might probably have to go through the hoops. You probably have to, pretend to be somebody you're not for a little bit until you build your database and so forth. But at the end of the day, it's really realizing who you are, right? It's staying safe, it's staying close to the people you love, your family who are there to support you. The biggest thing as well is, those toxic people who put you maybe down as well, who tell you these are the things you need to do. But at the end of the day, you don't need them. You need to take them out of your life, push them away, and really focus on you and not listen to other people. Same thing with social media. It could be toxic. There's a reason why we should really stay away from it, because it depends who you listen to. You got to be very careful. So if you have a person that inspires you, then you follow them, you look at their trends and what they show, and not pretty much everybody on TikTok and social media. Yeah. So it's really important to isolate yourself from what's not good for you. And that's, again, realizing what's there and what's really good for you or not.
Great. It's exceptional advice. That's, I think, yes, true. We should choose carefully what we are going to follow and who we are going to follow, even on social media.
Absolutely.
And yes, now sometimes women, mainly women, we feel some deep fears and unnecessary guilt, don't we? So, how do you think that we can address these feelings of unnecessary guilt and deep fears that we have?
So I know a lot of women that maybe were, in their 40s or close to their 40s. They haven't been married, they haven't had kids, or, again, peer pressure, family pressure, everything is there. Again, with nowadays technology, you still could still, have kids. You could still get married. You could still find that first love or true love and so forth. I think we are so defined by the age and that number. Again, it's social expectation that by 40, you need to be married, you need to have a couple of kids, you should have traveled the world, you should have some sort of education. And there's a whole bunch of things that we are expected to have. But that's not the case. Again, just because one of the family, let's say, is not married or don't have kids, doesn't define you. It doesn't make you any less of a person. You know, I mean, there's so many women in their 40s, they focus more on their career and not the family. Again, it doesn't define them. Or versus, you know, somebody who had a couple of kids in their 20s and now the kids are growing up by this time, like, what do I do? You could still start a career. You could still go and get your education. You could change your career. If you were, you know, an attorney before, you could become somebody else later. So I think we should not limit ourselves just because we're 40 or in that age range. So take that away, forget that it's just, and just remember it's only a number. It is a significant milestone, but we need to figure out that we have so much experience behind us that we need to focus more on that and not the number.
Amazing. That's really eye-opening for me as well. Yes, that's really great. Like so many messages deep there in there. Thank you very much. So now let's come back to your book. How do you hope that readers will resonate with Perfect 40? And will it inspire them to embrace their personal journey of growth?
Yeah, that's the whole message behind it. You know, I think self-growth, improvement is the biggest thing. We can't be the person we are 20 years ago, right? Or 10 years ago. We constantly have to evolve. We constantly have to grow. So I hope to inspire every reader, whoever reads my book, to continue that, that route, that journey, that you never stop growing as an individual. We change, everybody changes. So I do hope to help every reader to understand that there's so much more within you. You know, you have to continue to read, you have to continue to grow and not limit yourself to just that particular number or who you are right now at this moment.
Inspiring, yes. So we are all like butterflies. At one point, we will be evolving and changing from the caterpillar to butterflies. And still we can be caterpillars still, or we can be butterflies.
Exactly.
It's our choice. Nice message.
Right.
Now, I also like to think now, this is a book about women's, nearly about women's midlife crisis.
Right.
What do you think the most important thing to take away from your book for the readers? The most important message?
Well, I think there are a few messages. The biggest one is love yourself first, right? As I mentioned earlier, you have to love yourself. And if you do, then you realize that you need to grow as a person, that you need to continue reading, you need to continue writing, you need to continue to do what you do best. So if you are in a whatever field you are in, let's say you're an attorney, just because you know how to be an attorney, you need to continue your studies. So the biggest message is, continue to grow, continue to love yourself, continue to explore yourself. Again, just what you did a year ago might not be the things that you're doing now. So it's a constant growth, constant involvement as an individual.
Amazing. That's really one of the nicest things I've ever heard. Yes, it's not too late. We have to keep going, keep moving.
And you know what? Sorry to interrupt. I would add that I've had women and men, different ages, reading the book, 20s, 30s, 40s, 60s, and they all had something to take from the book. Because yes, even though my book is more focused on women and midlife crisis for women, but there's so many different messages for other readers as well. It's a life lesson. Again, even if somebody's 60, so what? They just need to say, oh, I'm retiring, I'm not going to do anything with my life. No, you need to continue on. You need to continue to grow, and there's so much you could do with your life. You could explore the world. You could travel. You could change your career at 60. Again, I don't think that any number should limit us to who we are, who we want to be.
Yes, it reminds me a little bit about the book Ikigai as well, never retire. So whatever the age you are, never retire. So that's
okay, there you go. Yeah.
With me as well. So another thing that I'd like to ask, now let's focus on your personality as an author. Mm-hmm. Now, what challenges did you face when you were trying to write and publish this book?
Right. So writing it was, again, English is my second language. So a challenge came right there first, because I'm used to writing it differently when I've been to the country for some time. That was probably the biggest, how to form the sentences, how to create even a book, right? You think, oh, there's a book and there's a pretty cover and it makes some sense in the book, but there's so many challenges in actually creating a book, from copywriting, for somebody designing your book, a special format, size, publication, what are you expected to do with the book? You know, how do you even get on the shelves? I mean, there's so many challenges. Well, I think it's not really challenges. I think it's a learning process, just like anything else. It's kind of like once you learn the process, it's a lot easier with the second book. I'm actually writing my second book. So second book, it's so much easier because I already know the kinks in and out, what I need, what is expected of me, you know. Sometimes you feel like, all right, it's just the cover. But once you start opening up a book, you realize there's so many different pages, dedication pages and acknowledgements and, you know, copyright page and so many other things that take place in order to create that little book for, you know, for your reader. So I think just creating and figuring out the process of an actual book, that was probably the most challenging for me.
Yet again, let's keep learning, just like you did. So it's again the inspiration message from your life story. Now, another thing that most of our authors are struggling with is their consistency. So how do you suggest for some tips that you can share with us to keep, stay motivated in our writing process?
Writing, I think continue to read other authors helps me a lot. Because just like any book will inspire you in some way or give you some sort of knowledge. For me, reading other authors inspires me. Because again, you learn something, you take a lesson from any book, right? Even if it's just one sentence that you learn, it inspires you. So listening to audiobooks or reading books or reading blogs really inspires me to continue and, you know, continue share my knowledge with other authors. So for me, I think you might know what I'm talking about, but the other 5 readers or authors might not, you know. So for me, share my knowledge inspires me to write, continue to write, to explore my point of view, my opinions. So that's what actually keeps me going as an author as well, sharing my experiences.
So I think a lot of aspiring authors in the audience are as well listening to you, and they have some questions as well. We'll take them up later. And now I'll ask another thing from you. As a writer, what was the biggest challenge that you faced as a writer?
As a writer, probably putting my thoughts together, because, you know, even if you might have something that you want to write about, you write it and then you write something else, another chapter, and then you have another thought kind of going back and fitting that other sentence into the chapter. So that's probably, and it's not just 1 or 2, you go back and forth maybe 20, 30, 40 times, you know, because you have that thought and applies to this chapter. And then you're going to go back, you apply it to a different chapter. So it's a very interesting process, actually, kind of getting it organized. So I think that's probably was the most challenging thing, fitting it in where it goes best in your chapter, in your book, where it fits best.
That's very interesting and insightful to know. I hope the aspiring authors get the idea as well. And now I'm going to ask you about a very different question. What is the most rewarding part of being a writer?
When you get a feedback from a reader that they took something and it helped them or inspired them, that's the most rewarding thing for me. Again, this is my first book. And I can't really say that I have a lot of experience in getting, you know, this or publications or, you know, media or anything like that. But I think honestly, getting that feedback from a reader that, you know, what you helped them in some way or the book helped them in some way or another, that's the most rewarding thing ever. Really, like the feedback, the lessons maybe, you know, it helped them think differently in a way. Because I think that's what we really need to in life is you want to change your thought process to become a different person, to become a better person in a way. So I think just getting the feedback from readers is the most rewarding thing for me.
So before moving on, I'll read a quote from your book. This is said, 40 is that age where you execute an intentional life based on the knowledge you have amassed before 40. This is the perfect age to become the perfect you at perfect 40. Hopefully, we have many years ahead of us. We know what we want, or we can just figure it out. The best years are just ahead of us. All our insecurities behind us. We have learned a lot of lessons and are ready to take on the world. We are ready to live our lives with love and purpose, bravely, boldly, and brilliantly. So that's something that I really loved reading. It's almost like a positive information that we can read to ourselves every day. So thank you, Lana. And now
First.
I'm again asking something related to being having your book published.
Mhm.
So what did you feel after publishing your book, first book?
Completion. I'm very goal oriented. So when I published my book, I turned 41 actually. So on my birthday, that was my goal, to publish my book on my 41st birthday. And I did it. I decided within weeks, and I actually was so surprised that I actually accomplished it. So that was the most enjoyable thing for me, actually, to actually completing it with my goal, check off my list that I actually did and I got it done.
That's a great legacy you are leaving behind for us as well as your daughters.
Yeah.
So, any advice you want to give to readers who want to start writing? Like I also am interested in writing, but still I have not started. So, anything that you can give as a tip?
So if you want to start writing, if you have a thought, just start. Just start somewhere. You know, put your thoughts down. What is it that you think? Because what you actually start writing with might not even be the book eventually. You might actually change, you know, you might want to start writing about cats, let's say. And eventually you're going to start writing a book about zoo or making cupcakes and so forth. But I think just the initial process of starting writing something will actually help you to initiate and go with your thoughts and create that piece of art.
Wonderful, thank you. So, I'll see whether I can publish my book before at least I turn 40.
Yes,
Okay,
good.
yes, thank you.
First.
Now, yeah, we have few questions from the audience. I hope if you don't mind, I'll go ahead with them.
Yeah.
So, one of our guests is asking, how do you balance your personal life with your writing career? So that's interesting.
Yes, so I do try to spend a lot of time with my kids as well. So while they're at school, I try to spend a little bit of time a day after my work is done and write something. If you constantly do it, it becomes like a second nature. You know how they say when you go to the gym, you kind of, once you start going, it's a second nature, you need it. So the same thing with writing. Once you start writing and kind of keep going with it, it becomes a second nature. You almost need to write something before end of the day. So for me, I kind of do it in my office. I get a little spare time for myself. I complete all my work, sit down and just write something. So this is my kind of like a balance that I find. Yes. So, but I make sure I go home and spend my precious time with my little daughter. So yes.
That's true as well. So you are a busy mom and a loving mother as well. So thank you for that advice. Now, some people are very interested. I too had this question when you talked about you are reading other authors' books. So could you share some of your favorite books or favorite authors with us who influenced your work mainly?
I wouldn't any particularly say any authors because I think every author has something to share. So I don't really just read an author. I pick up a book, and if it sounds, you know, kind of like interesting, I'll read it. The latest book I read was Life Pass, Payal Kadakian. Yeah, so that was quite interesting. That was her personal story. Um, the book before was Secret, you know, so I read all kinds of genre, you know, it's interesting to me. I like novels, I like self-help books, I like nonfiction. So I don't say there's any particular book that actually changed my life because I think every book in a way changes something in you. That's why I appreciate reading. I appreciate all kinds of books. So not a particular author.
Excellent. So I think yes, we have to keep our minds open and yes,
Yeah.
want to receive information from any kind of author or any book.
Yeah, because every author is so different, right? And I don't want to stick to just one way of thinking, you know?
One genre.
Exactly. So I like to spread and I like to read all kinds of different authors.
Interesting to know. And now, suppose that some writer is working on their own story, personal story maybe. So, is there any advice that you can give for those authors?
Personal story?
Yes, when you are working on a personal story, so it's very personal for us maybe. So,
Right.
yes, any advice for that kind of authors?
I think the biggest advice, even if you get a negative feedback, if somebody tells you why do you share your story or nobody will be interested, well, don't worry about them because it's your story and you want to share. So like me writing my personal story, there'll be other 10 other women that'll connect with your story, you know. So yes, maybe there'll be 10 that will not connect with your story, but the other 10, they will connect with your story. So it's important to share your own journey for the others to feel that they're not alone as well. So I think absolutely go do that, share your story. Don't look at the negative feedback, because there'll always be people who will discourage you, try to tell you something, don't do it. But do it for yourself. Again, love yourself and do it for yourself first.
Thank you very much. That's very inspiring and motivating. So, what did you enjoy most when you were writing the book? That's another question from the audience. Most enjoyable part.
Most enjoyable part was actually learning about myself. Because again, once you start writing, you start it's a creative process, right? So once you start writing, your brain starts working a little bit differently. And when you do, you realize you have a lot more questions than you thought. It starts with one question, then you explore that. Then you move on and you have another question, you explore that. And as you go, you know, it keeps on growing and growing and growing. And you just really learn more about who you really are through the writing process. Just like reading a book, you might understand what the author is trying to tell you, but again, you take your own lesson from it. So the same way when you write, you have a different creating process where you learn more about the world, about you, and everything else really at this point.
That's really enlightening. Like, you have shared some very remarkable insights and your personal journey with us tonight. And your book, Perfect 40, is undoubtedly one inspiration for many, not only women, but men as well, I believe. And it's not only for 40 years olds. I think it will be inspiration to any age in any reader, in any age range, because when I picked it up, I felt like you were talking to me. And even before I met you and had this discussion, I felt like I already knew you. Yeah. So that's the beautiful style that you have written the book in. So one question has come from one of our guests. He or she has asked, life keeps challenging me on a daily basis. At some point, you want to give up. How does one see the light and try to stay positive?
In my personal experience, I mean, we're all humans, right? It happens to every single one of us. You know, you have a good week or a good month and something happens or nothing happens and you just feel like, you know, low. What really helps me is practicing gratitude. I do this every day. Right before bed, I jot down, or in my head now, I do that, about 15 to 20 things that you're grateful for. And you realize that there's so much more good that happens to you versus one bad thing that made you feel this way that you're feeling. So continue on with the gratitude, and I've been doing for many, many years now. Helps me to be that better person. Continue me be in a better mood every day. Literally, you just really when you focus on all the good things that happened to you today.
Thank you very much. During these 30 minutes, I have learned a lot from you, and I'm undoubtedly sure that all the audience who were here with us today and joining live on Facebook have learned a lot and got inspired by your thoughts, especially your beautiful thoughts. And with this thought process, I would like to ask, do you have any final thoughts or a last message for our audience?
Probably reiterate what I already said. Just remember to love yourself first. Again, everything comes from love to yourself. Then others will follow your own example, right? So continue to read, continue to learn, continue to explore the world and all the other books that are out there. There are always messages in every book. I know that a lot less people read now, but I think there's so much knowledge in picking up any book. Even if it's a novel, it inspires you. Even if it's a self-help book, it will help you. Even if it's a nonfiction about traveling or cooking, there's always something that we'll learn. So continue to learn, continue to become better you and better yourself in many ways.
Excellent. So I think we've had a very amazing, inspiring session. Thank you so much, Lana, Shadeen. And I thank all our attendees, yes, for being a part of this wonderful author Saga session. You've been very interactive with so many questions, and yes, very interesting questions. And one of our guests is wishing you all the best, Lana.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, we hope you leave feeling inspired, our guests, and feeling inspired and empowered to embrace personal growth in your own lives. So let's just remember the journey to self discovery and fulfillment is, like Lana said, a lifelong adventure. So thank you again very much, Lana.
Of course. Thank you for having me. It was fun. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And now I'd like to invite someone who has been extremely instrumental in bringing together this book enthusiast and our author together from around the world. So please join me in welcoming Tanuja Ramsai, Head of Operations at Pick a Book Global, to propose the vote of thanks. Tanuja, are you there?
Yes, I'm very much there. Thank you, Zara, for that wonderful moderation. Lana, you are exceptional. Thank you so much. And wow, you said every book changed something in you. So thank you for your book. I'm going to pick it up soon, waiting for my copy to come. And that reminder, I think we need that daily to prioritize self-love, above everything. It is so important. Thank you for highlighting that, and engage in activities you're passionate about. Age cannot always be a number. We definitely go through a lot of challenges, as someone said, like we give up, we have our share of bad days and good days, but gratitude is something I totally believe in you, Lana. So
Yes.
again, thank you for highlighting so many things. It's a positive reminder for all of us, not just for women. And I was so happy to see, I think Mr. Vipul said, if I'm not wrong, it's so relatable to others. It's not just relatable to women, also to men. So great. So midlife crisis is something. We are aging, our parents are aging, our kids are growing. So wonderful topic. And as even Zara said, aging is certain, but our response to it defines our journey.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Lana, for being with us.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Zara, once again. Have a wonderful evening, and you have a great day, Lana.
Thank you so much. Take care. Good night.
Good night. Take care. Thank you, audience, for joining us today.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And with that, we conclude this insightful author saga session. Have a perfect week, everyone.